A group of carefree friends stumbles upon an ancient tarot deck hidden away for centuries, its warning clear, never draw from it. But curiosity takes over, and once the cards are flipped, their darkest fortunes come alive. One by one, they're hunted by the terrifying entities bound to each card, as their destinies spiral into a nightmare they can't escape. In this video, I will recap a supernatural horror film titled Tarot, released in 2024. The film opens with 7 college friends gathered around a bonfire in front of an expansive mansion. The group includes Haley, Grant, Paxton, Paige, Elise, Madeline, and Lucas. They are celebrating Elise's birthday, having rented the vintage mansion for the occasion. During their festivities, the group playfully teases Haley and Grant about being the first among them to marry, given their long-standing relationship. This banter creates an uncomfortable atmosphere for both Haley and Grant, prompting Grant to retreat into the mansion. Haley then reveals to her friends that she and Grant have recently ended their relationship. Her friends, taken aback by this revelation, encourage her to reconcile with Grant, as they believe they are a perfect match. However, Haley feels that their paths were diverging. Shortly thereafter, the rest of the group enters the mansion in search of more beer, only to find that they have run out. Given the remote location of the mansion and the late hour, they realize that deliveries will not be possible. They speculate that there may be hidden alcohol somewhere in the old house and begin to search. Although their initial search yields no results, they stumble upon a locked door adorned with a "Keep Out" sign. In a festive mood and under the influence of alcohol, they decide to disregard the sign and break into the concealed chamber. This door leads them to a dark basement filled with an array of peculiar antiques. They surmise that the previous occupant of the house was a collector of astrology and cult relics. Moments later, Paxton discovers an antique box containing tarot cards. Haley is taken aback by the eerie appearance of these hand-painted tarot cards. With her familiarity with tarot and astrology, her friends encourage her to conduct a reading for them. Although hesitant to use a stranger's deck, Haley ultimately relents when Elise insists it is her birthday wish. The group then lights candles around the room and gathers for the tarot reading. Just before they begin, a sudden gust of wind sweeps through, heightening Haley's anxiety. She cautions her friends against proceeding with the reading, citing an unspoken rule about using someone else's tarot deck, but Elise persists until Haley finally agrees to go ahead with it. Shortly thereafter, Haley commences the tarot reading with Elise. She explains that 12 tarot cards are arranged in a circle to symbolize each zodiac sign, with a significant 13th card positioned at the center to represent the overarching theme of the reading. Haley notes that, as a Libra, Elise possesses a natural curiosity and an inclination to seek understanding. Elise draws the High Priestess card, which signifies her progress toward success. However, Haley cautions her against rushing, as this could lead to setbacks. Following Elise, Madeline takes her turn and draws the Hanged Man card, which embodies the concept of ultimate surrender. Haley informs her that, as a Pisces, she has a tendency to evade danger and advises her to confront challenges rather than flee from them. She also warns Madeline that she may experience unexpected technological failures. Meanwhile, Paxton heads to the restroom in the dimly lit mansion, where he observes a door opening and closing due to the wind. He briefly perceives a figure on the balcony but soon realizes it is merely a pile of trash. Concurrently, Haley conducts Paige's reading and draws the Magician card. As a Virgo, Paige may encounter difficulties this month, feeling torn in different directions. Haley further warns her that the Magician's illusions can be misleading, potentially obscuring her clarity. When it is Paxton's turn for his reading, he draws the Fool card. Haley explains that, as a Taurus, he is recognized as a dependable friend but can also be stubborn and prone to impulsive decisions. The Fool card serves as a warning for him to refrain from acting on impulse and not to be surprised if he feels confined or restricted. Next, when it is Lucas's turn, Haley points out that, as a Capricorn, he tends to be a rule breaker. He draws the Hermit card, and Haley indicates that his financial circumstances are likely to change. Nevertheless, she advises him to exercise caution, as the Hermit symbolizes poor decision-making and warns that its guiding light could lead him astray. Subsequently, Haley attempts to conduct Grant's reading, identifying him as a Leo. She draws the Devil card, which represents his darker tendencies. This suggests that he is on a troubling path and must confront his inner demons and make sacrifices, otherwise, he risks losing someone significant in his life. Grant dismisses her interpretation as fabrication and storms out of the room. Finally, Haley reads her own horoscope and draws the Death card. She expresses that every time she conducts a reading for herself, she consistently pulls this card, which suggests that love will ultimately lead to her demise. The scene transitions to midnight when the tarot card box begins to emit a glow, accompanied by images of some kind of ritual. The following morning, the group departs from the mansion and returns to campus. Later, Lucas stops at a gas station and is elated to win $700 on a scratch-off ticket, bringing immense joy to the group. That evening, Elise and Haley are dropped off, and the two friends share a warm hug before parting ways. Upon returning to her dorm, Elise takes a shower. However, when she exits the restroom, she is taken aback to discover a ladder leading up to the attic. Not giving it much thought, Elise raises the ladder, secures the attic door, and heads back to her room. Shortly thereafter, she receives a call from Paige, and they engage in conversation. It is during this time that Elise begins to hear unusual noises. She ends the call and once again notices the ladder leading to the attic, all while a dark figure looms behind her. Assuming her friends are playing a prank, she calls out to them but receives no response. Subsequently, she decides to climb the ladder and investigate the attic but finds no one present. Moments later, the hallway lights go out, startling Elise. She glances back at the attic and is suddenly confronted with the sight of lit candles and upside-down crosses. Among them, she spots the High Priestess card just as the High Priestess figure appears before her, causing her to collapse. Elise then receives another call from Paige and reaches for her phone. Unfortunately, the High Priestess strikes her repeatedly with the ladder until she loses consciousness. The next day, the group is devastated by the unexpected loss of their friend, who had recently celebrated her birthday. Paige is deeply shaken and traumatized, having been the last person to speak with Elise, prompting Haley to offer her support. That night, Paige awakens from a nightmare, expressing that she keeps seeing Elise's face as if she were still alive. In response, Haley begins to share her own story, revealing that she was raised solely by her mother. One day, her mother fell ill unexpectedly, and Haley endured immense pain as she watched her mother try numerous treatments without success. It was during this difficult time that she turned to tarot readings for solace, performing many for her mother. However, all of them predicted her mother's death. This realization led Haley to accept that some events are predetermined and cannot be altered. In a separate scene, Lucas finds himself walking alone through a subway station when the lights start to flicker. He soon encounters the figure of the hermit, who begins to pursue him. Terrified, Lucas runs for his life and inadvertently enters a restricted area. There, he discovers a newspaper featuring his photo with the alarming headline, "You Die Today." Suddenly, the ominous figure appears before him, prompting Lucas to anxiously seek refuge in an abandoned train. Inside, he is repeatedly startled by the hermit. The following day, his friends are informed of the tragedy by the police, leaving them even more distressed. At this moment, Haley comes to the realization that the fates of their two friends align with the predictions made by the tarot reading. The sequence of events begins with Lucas winning a scratch card, followed by Elise's incident with the ladder, and Lucas inadvertently entering a restricted area. Haley suspects a connection to the tarot deck, prompting them to search online for similar occurrences. Their investigation repeatedly leads them to the name Alma Astrum. Alma is recognized as an expert in horoscope divination and has encountered comparable situations in the past. The group attempts to reach out to her, but she is unavailable, leading them to decide to visit her residence directly. After 3 hours of driving, they finally arrive at her location. Alma's home is situated in a remote area, and when they knock, she initially refuses to engage with them. However, upon hearing that 2 of her friends have already lost their lives due to the tarot cards, Alma agrees to speak with them. Once inside, Haley provides a detailed account of the events surrounding her friends' deaths. She also describes the tarot deck, to which Alma appears to have prior knowledge. Alma then recounts a series of similar incidents, In 1951, 6 individuals died under mysterious circumstances in Mexico City within a span of 48 hours. A common factor among the victims was that they had all received horoscope readings at a wedding. In 1969, another case emerged in Woodstock where 8 individuals perished within 3 days, all having had their horoscopes read. A subsequent incident occurred in London in 1988, involving a group of friends on a weekend trip who also had their horoscopes read. Remarkably, only one person survived, and it is revealed that Alma was that survivor. She had conducted readings for everyone except herself. Since that time, she has been seeking to locate and destroy the tarot deck. According to Alma's research, the deck originated from a Hungarian astrologer in 1798 who served a count engaged in occult practices and who placed unwavering faith in her tarot predictions. The astrologer foretold that neither the count's wife nor their unborn child would survive childbirth, which enraged the count, prompting him to demand repeated readings, each yielding the same grim outcome. In his fury, the count banished both the astrologer and her daughter. Ultimately, the prediction came true, resulting in the deaths of both mother and child during childbirth. This led the count to accuse the astrologer of witchcraft and order her capture. In a fit of rage, he murdered her daughter, leaving the astrologer devastated. In retaliation, she performed a blood ritual, sacrificing herself and binding her spirit to the cards, which resulted in a deadly curse. Consequently, the count and his associates met their demise, allowing the astrologer to exact her revenge. However, the death of the count and his companions did not suffice for the astrologer. Her spirit remained tethered to the tarot deck, ensuring that anyone who received a reading from it would suffer the same tragic fate as the count. Alma then discloses that the only means to break the curse is to destroy the deck. Upon hearing this, the group resolves to return to the mansion to complete the task. During their journey, Madeline plays a video she recorded of Haley discussing her reading, which focused on the hanged man. As they continue driving, they arrive at a bridge where the car unexpectedly malfunctions. A fog envelopes the windshield, and Madeline perceives the image of the hanged man. Realizing she may be the next victim, she begins to panic and attempts to flee, despite her friends' efforts to restrain her. They soon observe the hanged man appearing with a rope. Haley tries to warn Madeline, but tragically, a noose is suddenly thrown around her neck. The hanged man drags her away and kills her. The group is horrified by their friend's death and resolves to return to the mansion to destroy the tarot deck. However, Paxton becomes overwhelmed by fear of these entities and believes he will be safe in his room. Despite Haley's pleas for him to stay together with them, Paxton makes a rash decision to leave. Later, Paxton is seen walking home alone when he hears laughter. Turning around, he finds no one there. In a state of panic, he attempts to flee but soon encounters a menacing clown staring at him. He rushes to his apartment while being pursued by the clown, who laughs maniacally. Upon entering the elevator, Paxton hopes that the entity has left him behind. It is at this moment that he recalls his tarot reading about being trapped. Simultaneously, the 3 friends arrive at the mansion and attempt to destroy the tarot cards contained within a box. To their astonishment, they discover that fire cannot incinerate these cards. Left with no alternatives, they decide to call Alma for assistance. Shortly thereafter, Alma arrives. Haley informs her about witnessing the hanged man who murdered Madeline. Alma explains that due to the astrologer's binding of her spirit to the deck, she personifies the cards and animates them. Subsequently, Alma devises a strategy to detach the astrologer's spirit from the tarot cards. She initiates a ritual, and soon the spirit manifests directly behind them near the fireplace. However, the astrologer chooses to entertain herself by performing a reading on Alma, revealing the 6 of Swords. Shortly thereafter, she pulls Alma into the darkness, prompting the 3 friends to flee. They soon encounter Alma's lifeless body, with 6 swords protruding from her back. As they continue their escape, Paige becomes separated from Grant and Haley. Moments later, she hears Haley's voice calling for help from the basement. Upon entering the basement, the door slams shut behind her. Meanwhile, Haley and Grant rush into another room, barricading the door with furniture as the spirit pounds against it. Back in the basement, Paige continues to hear Haley's voice, which gradually transforms into a demonic tone. Suddenly, a lamp explodes in her face, impairing her vision. At that moment, a magician appears before her and performs several tricks, subsequently chaining her feet in front of a ghostly audience. Terrified, Paige attempts to hide in a box but soon realizes she is trapped and unable to escape while the magician drags the box before the audience. Moments later, he produces a large saw and begins stabbing the box. In a state of panic, Paige desperately tries to evade it but tragically ends up being cut in half along with the box, which is then pulled in opposite directions. Haley and Grant hear her screams from the locked room but are powerless to assist her. In this tense situation, Haley deduces that since the cards curse anyone who undergoes a reading, she may be able to reverse the curse for the astrologer by performing her own reading. However, as they discuss this plan, Grant is suddenly yanked out of the window by a demonic entity. In her terror, Haley attempts to escape, but the figure representing death from her tarot reading appears and begins pursuing her. She runs through the mansion, but ultimately, death catches up to her. Just as she is about to meet her end, Grant intervenes and strikes the entity with a rod. He instructs Haley to complete the reading while he confronts the entities. Following this, Haley arranges the cards and notices they are all reversed, indicating that the astrologer is in significant distress. Meanwhile, Grant is seen being pulled away by the entity. Haley proceeds to initiate the reading, prompting the astrologer's spirit to attempt to intervene. Demonstrating her courage, she engages the spirit in conversation, expressing her understanding of the pain of losing someone and emphasizing that remaining anchored in the past will not alter the future. Regrettably, the furious spirit is unyielding and seizes Haley by the neck with the intent to harm her. At that critical moment, Haley reveals her card, which also represents death, signifying that her time has come. Instantly, a dark gust sweeps through the room, causing the spirit to scream before being drawn into the flames. Subsequently, we witness her reunion with her daughter in the afterlife. This resolution allows for the destruction of the tarot cards, thereby breaking the curse. In the aftermath, Haley and Grant walk along the main road. They soon observe an approaching car and suspect that their ordeal may not be over. However, it turns out to be Paxton, who has successfully survived the harrowing experience. The three friends express their joy at being reunited, climb into the car, and head back to the city. During their journey, Paxton explains that he managed to survive because his roommate opened the door just in time, causing the threat to vanish. Thanks for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more of these recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.